3.7, we're splitting into two pieces. We have A and B. For part A, we're going to be factoring by long division. So essential question, how do you use, and go ahead and write that as long division to help you factor polynomial functions. Now, before we go into that, I want us to remember, how do we even do long division? So let's start with 154 divided by 7. Now, when you were taught long division, we put what we're dividing by on the outside and what we are dividing on the inside. And our first question is, can 7 go into 1? No. So then we do 7 into 15. How many times does 7 go into 15? Twice. So then we have 2. We times it by the 7, and we get 14. So we times to get 14, and then we subtract, and I get 1. Bring down the 4. Now we ask ourselves, how many times does 7 go into 14? The answer is 2. We do this 2 times 7. I get 14. I subtract, and I get 0. So this is 22, remainder 0. So a way we can write it is we have 0 over 7 left over. Another way we can think about it is we have 22 plus 0 out of 7 left over. Go ahead and try 156 divided by 7. So write the 7 and the 156 inside. 7 go into 1. Nope. Does 7 go into 15? Yes, twice. We multiply and get 14. Then we subtract, and I get 1. Then we bring down the 6. Now we ask ourselves, how many times does 7 divide into 16? The answer is, the closest thing is 2. Again, 2 times 7 is 14. Subtract, and we get 2. Do I have anything else to bring down? No. So here our remainder is 2 out of 7. So we can write our answer as 22 plus, we had 2 out of 7 left over. We are now going to do that whole process, but with polynomials. So here I have x squared plus 2x minus 7 divided by, remember this means divided by, x minus 2. So the x minus 2 goes on the outside and the top goes on the inside. And what's the goal? Our goal is we have x minus 2. And we want to know x minus 2 times what equals x squared plus 2x minus 7. So this is a form of factoring. Whatever we get on the top, we put here. X minus 2 times whatever we get equals that. And remember, this is our factored form. Let's look at example 1. Both polynomials should have the largest exponent terms first. So that's step 1. Check that. How do we perform our long division? We divide the first term of the numerator, remind you, numerator is the top, by the first term of the denominator, bottom. Or here's our numerator right here, because that was the top. This is our denominator, because that was the bottom. And put that in the answer. Then we multiply the denominator, here's the denominator, by that answer, and we put that below the numerator. We subtract to create a new polynomial, and we repeat. So let's see how all of this works. I'm going to zoom back in again. Okay. So we have a trinomial divided by a binomial. This would be my top. This is my numerator. And x plus 2 is my denominator. So I'm going to put a num and a den so that we can remember those words and try and follow our steps. Divide the first term of the numerator. Well, what's the first term of the numerator? X squared. What are we dividing that by? The first term of the denominator. What's that? X. How many times does x go into x squared? Another thing you can ask yourself. So you can be thinking about it as x squared divided by x. Or you can think of it as x times what gives me x squared. If you're thinking about it this way, x squared over x is just x. Or you can think x times, let's use, sorry I'm changing colors so much, x. What's step 2? Multiply the denominator, so we're multiplying x plus 2 by that answer, so by this. So x times x plus 2. Well, x times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. So here, I did x times x plus 2. Step 3, subtract. Well, now I'm not just subtracting the x squared. We have to distribute the negative to both of them. So I get x squared minus x squared is 0. Negative 3x minus 2x is negative 5x. And then I'm going to bring down the minus 10. Let's walk through that again. We took the first term of the numerator divided by the first term of the denominator. X squared divided by x, and got x. We multiplied the denominator by the answer. So we did x times x plus 2. That looks like this. And we got what's in green, x squared plus 2x. Then we subtracted. When I'm subtracting, I distribute the negative. So both of them become negative. Now we repeat. Divide the first term, negative 5x, by x. So what does that look like? Negative 5x over x, that's going to be negative 5. Now we're going to multiply. Negative 5 times x, negative 5x, negative 5 times 2, negative 10. Now we subtract. So when I'm subtracting, my signs change. So to subtract, we switch the signs. Subtracting means we're just doing the opposite. So I get 0, 0. So let's look at our question. Is x plus 2 a factor of x squared minus 3x minus 10? Well, from the left here, we have x plus 2 times, we got x minus 5. We had nothing left over, is x squared minus 3x minus 10. So yes, y 0 is the remainder. Let's go ahead and do example 2. This is my numerator, 2x squared minus 5x minus 11. My denominator is x minus 3. If you need to label them numerator or denominator so we can follow the instructions, go ahead. I want you to try and take some time and follow the steps and follow example 1 and try to walk through this. Go ahead and pause the video so they can do that. Now that you've had time, we're going to look and we divide the first term of the numerator. So I have 2x squared divided by the first term of the denominator, x, and I get 2x. And so then we multiply 2x by all of this. So 2x times x, that's 2x squared. 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. We then subtract. Subtracting means we switch signs. Two x squared minus 2x squared, 0. Negative 5 plus 6, that's 1. So I get x minus 11. Bring down this. Let's do it again. X divided by x is 1. Now we multiply. 1 times x is x. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. We're subtracting, so we switch the signs. This becomes a negative, that becomes a positive. I get 0, and I get negative 8. Since I have a remainder, we write it as negative 8 over x minus 3. So, is x minus 3 a factor? Well, let's write this out. I had x minus 3 times, my answer was 2x plus 1 plus negative 8 over x minus 3. So the answer is no, because we had that left over. Okay, so now we're going to use our long division to factor completely. So we're saying we have this polynomial. Note there's 4 terms, but they're telling us that x minus 7 is a factor. So our goal is to say x minus 7 times something is x to the third minus 12x squared plus 41x minus 42. That's our goal. So to figure out what we're multiplying by, we're going to do the opposite. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So let's go ahead and use our long division. And then I have x minus 7 as the factor. So that goes on the outside. Here's our numerator. Here's our denominator. Let's go through the steps. X to the third divided by x squared. Now I multiply. X squared times x is x to the third. X squared times negative 7 is negative 7x squared. We get to subtract now. I would suggest maybe using a different pen here, or a different color pencil, so you know that you're actually doing the subtracting. 0, negative 12, positive 7, that's negative 5. X to the second. Bring down the rest. And then we do it again. Negative 5x squared divided by, first term of the numerator, negative 5x squared, divided by first term of the denominator, divided by x. So I get negative 5x. Let's multiply it. Negative 5x times x, negative 5x squared. Negative 5x times negative 7, positive 35x. Let's go ahead and do our subtraction. So this becomes a positive, this becomes a negative. 41 minus 35, 6x, bring down the negative 42. First term, 6x divided by x, that's a positive 6. Let's multiply. 6 times x, 6x. 6 times negative 7, negative 42. Then we get to subtract, and we get 0. Remember, we want to get 0. If it's 0, this means it's a factor, which we know because it told us that. So what can I fill into my blanks here? I can fill in x squared minus 5x plus 6. Are we done? Not quite. It said divide using long division, then factor completely. What does that mean? Well, here I can keep going. I can factor this again. Let's do our trinomial factoring, x. We want to multiply to 6. A positive 6 with a negative, so minus minus. So that's going to be 2 and 3, because negative 2x, negative 3x. And I went quickly there because we should be doing really well at that by now. So that is our answer. Let's look at number 4, last example. Divide using long division, then factor completely. We're given our polynomial, and we're told that is a 0. Well, if negative 1 is a 0, x plus 1 is a factor. Because remember, when I look at something as a factor, I use the opposite. Let's set up our long division. Okay, do I use a negative 1 here, or do I use the factor? Well, what we're dividing by is the factor, so that goes on the outside. I'm going to go ahead and give you time to go through the process and try this on your own. If you need if you have a question, maybe ask your partner or someone in your group. 3. Now that you've had time to try, if they need a little more time, you can pause the video. Let's go through this. X to the third divided by x, the first term of the numerator, divided by the first term of the denominator is x squared. Now we do our multiplying. X squared times x is x to the third. X squared times 1 is positive x squared. Then I subtract 0, 3x squared, and I can bring everything else down. 3x squared divided by x, 3x. You need to picture it. 3x squared divided by x, 3x. Let's multiply. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 1, positive 3x. Subtract 0. Negative 15x minus 3x, that's negative 18x minus 18. Negative 18x divided by x, negative 18. You need to picture it. Let's multiply. Negative 18 times x, negative 18x. Negative 18 times positive 1, negative 18. And I get 0. Well, I have to subtract first, which means I'm changing the signs. And so I get 0. So let's write this out. What do I have now? I have x plus 1 times x squared plus 3x minus 18. That was just step 1, long division. Next step, factor completely. So I can look at that last piece. It's a trinomial, so we can break it down more. X and x, the end's negative, so 1 positive, 1 negative, 118, 2, 9, 3, 6. I think it's going to be 6 and 3. Let's check. Positive 6x minus 3x, that's positive 3x. So here is our answer. And that is it for our long division.